There we go. Thank you. There we go. All righty. Katie is out, and so I will be with you guys today and most likely Wednesday. And when she gets to connect. But this is cool because besides ideation, this is one of my favorite sessions to be a part of. And this is kind of the culminating piece of design thinking. And so there is more to design thinking and we'll cover that, but it rolls right into the lean startup business development piece of things. So ideation and prototyping are like clutch when it comes to really getting like connecting with your users and building something that is of value and of use to them. And so because of that, this is kind of one of those pieces where you really start to give that insight. And so one of the big things we're going to come to tonight when we start working through the prototyping is really understanding life from the perspective of your users in terms of interacting with the solution that you provide. Like, does the solution make sense for them in their current state of mind and meeting their current needs? And all the things that kind of comes with that. So without further ado, let me share my screen so we can start the slides. All right, here we go. Is it not advancing? There we go. So you guys did your storyboards, or you've done personas, you've done your storyboards, you've done your scenario. So personas were your reflection of who your audience was. So if you interviewed 100 people and you were to kind of do a characterization of all those 100 people and some of their common personality features and traits that are unique to the problem that you're trying to solve, that reflect the solution that you're trying to provide, that is what you captured in that persona 1 or 2, depending upon how much of your target audiences that you were targeting. So if you had 2 main customers, then you would reflect those. Then you took that customer and you put them in a scenario, right? So not just this character, but this character in this scenario. I was actually just talking to a friend and she was talking about Kerry Washington has a new comedy. And she was like, she's struggling with Kerry Washington in a new comedy because of her previous character in, what's the name of the show?
Scandal.
And it's like she played her role so well in Scandal, it's hard to see her character in a different scenario, right? It's like I see her in this comedy, but all I can think of is that Scandal character, and it's not working for me, right? And that's good and bad in terms of acting, but that's kind of what you want to think of, not just who my character is, but my character in that scenario. Does it make sense, right? Does like all the things, like when you think about your favorite character, the way I like to think about it is, like name your favorite movie character or TV show character or artist.
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Okay. Right. So what I love about Scooby-Doo is you can kind of tell if there's Scooby snacks nearby what he's gonna do, right? Like, you can predict how he's going to react, or when he's scared, right? Scooby-Doo, like if you see danger, he's not the one to run to danger and protect everybody, right? Like, that's not his character. Scooby-Doo is hiding next to you, right? And so those are the things when it comes to our personas, we want to know why they react the way they do and what causes them to have those reactions. We want to know our customers on that deeper level, right? When you think about different features and you think about, ooh, my customers are going to love this, or that's not going to work for them. Oh, this right here is hitting. This is the stuff they're going to gravitate towards, right? You want to understand your customers on that deeper level as you explore that persona. And when you build that scenario, there's different nuances in that scenario. You need to understand why that scenario makes sense for that customer. So now that we have our customers and our personas of our customers, and our scenario is our storyboard, where in a couple of quick pictures, you can tell me the flow, right? So that customer has a problem. They live in their happy, great lives. They come across this problem. This is how they feel about that problem. They don't know what to do. Voila, a solution. Your solution appears to them. They find out the solution. They interact, and their problem is solved, right? Your storyboards should be so solid that you don't have to explain it. You should be able to lay it down and somebody see like, oh, I get this. I completely understand how this flows, right? And then from there, they can kind of, their minds can start chugging away. Like, okay, and this happened because of this. And there's blanks you don't have to fill in because it makes sense for that persona in that scenario, in these couple of quick images of what's happening, right? And so your storyboards is just that quick visual representation of that persona in that one scenario. And they can have multiple use case scenarios, right? But you should be able, all of them should be consistent enough to really understand the needs of that user and how this solution is addressing that need. We're good so far? Is this all just kind of quick review? Yes? Thumbs up if we're all together? Okay. So what we're going to do, and I don't know where the rest of our class is today, so we'll start with you guys. We're going to do a quick rewind. In our rewind, I want us, because I have not been here with you guys, so I just want to make sure that we are wrapping up our empathy, our define, our ideation stages, all on the same page of exactly what is it that we're doing. So we started off the class, we started off with a problem on our own hypothetical, in my world, this is what I think the problem of my audience is. And then we said, okay, well, now that I think I've gotten my thoughts together, I went out and I talked to a couple of people, and then I've done some more research. And then I realized actually the problem is this, which might be a more refined version of what I originally thought, or a completely different direction, but I have a better grasp of this problem. And I know clearly who the main user of the product. I always tell people, one of my biggest pet peeve, when I ask someone what's their customer and they say, everybody. It's the thing that makes me cringe and my soul slowly dies. Everybody is not your customer. And so, so you want to be able to clearly articulate who that user is of that product. What will they have to gain by using your product or service, and what will the user do with that product? So all these pieces need to be clear. So I want you guys, in your quick and dirty way, you got your notes in front of you or you got it off the top of your head, you're going to state your problem. And in your problem, I want you to tell me the condition. What's true right now for that customer base? What is their vision, right? Where is it they're trying to get to? Who is the main user of your product? What will the user have to gain by using your product or service? And what will the user do with your product? I'll give you a minute to collect your thoughts, and then we're going round robin. This is not voluntary. Everyone will be voluntold to respond. This should not be new information. You guys have it all down because this is all we've been covering. All right. Paul, look like you ready.
Yeah, it was funny. I was about to start writing. I was like, hold on, wait, you already wrote this stuff down.
Yes, this is just a review. You got it all down.
Yeah, so I said my problem is middle and high school students looking to have representation as a teacher to not only teach them math, but connect with.
Say it again.
I said for my problem is middle and high school students looking to have representation as a teacher to not only teach math, but connect them with. Who will be my main user, middle and high school students? What will a user gain by using this product or service? A deeper level of understanding to connect academia to their education, and what will the user do with the product? Incorporate new skills and a system of them implementing to themselves as a student in their educational journey.
You said connect academia to their education?
Yeah, made me want to work with that, but just in a sense for what I've been learning or just observing as a teacher, students not necessarily seeing what that next picture is or that next goal for themselves of why I need to be learning this to advance, but to just actually answer that question.
Okay. So is it connect academia to their education, or is it
yes,
because you said something about they don't see the connection to what they're learning and like advancing. So is that
Correct.
okay? Okay. Okay. I feel like we can unpack that some more, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll let that sit while I reflect on that one. Okay. Diana, are you ready?
I guess so. Um, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. The problem, I guess the problem is the time constraints many busy women have in regards to quality hairstyling services. Who will the main user of the product be? It's busy women or women.
Before you go on to who the main, you said the problem is busy women. What is their vision? That's the condition. What's true now that they're busy and constraints. What is the vision? What do they want?
They want, I guess, the luxury of having hair services in their own space, the convenience of time, more time.
Okay. So with the problem, I want to hear what's true now, the problem, and then what they want. All kind of like, that's all like your first statement.
Okay.
So give me that problem again. So many busy women.
The problem is, I guess the problem is busy women. Okay, so what I had down initially, I said the problem my business is trying to solve is the time constraints that they have in regards to quality hairstyling services.
Okay. So
And then
time constraints that they have, you said, in regards to quality hairstyle services, and they want what?
They want the convenience of having the hair service at their beck and call in a sense.
Okay. Okay. You can play with the wordsmithing, but you see what I'm trying to do, where it's like you're telling me what's wrong and what they want all at the same time. Okay. All right. So, okay, who is your main user?
My main user would be a working woman, busy working woman.
Okay. Okay.
Or work-oriented woman.
Okay. We could probably dig down deeper, and I'm sure you got more details, but that's a good start. Okay.
I mean, it's hard because I also have stay-at-home moms too, and they don't work, but they're moms, so I guess that's a full-time job.
Staying at home is a whole job. Listen,
yeah.
I hats off. I'm not that person.
So it would be like a work-oriented woman who needs hair maintenance within their tight schedules.
Okay. Okay.
And what was the other one? What are they trying to gain by using the product?
What will the user have to gain by using your product or service?
Isn't that the same as the problem that I'm solving?
You gave me the vision, but like, what do they have to gain? They get their time back, right?
I was going to say their time, and they get more because they're usually multitasking. So
okay.
I guess whenever I'm styling their hair, they have time to do whatever that they have to do sitting in that chair. So if it's catch up with work, if it's do Zoom meetings with, because they're business women. So it would be, yeah, like in a sense, getting their time back.
Okay. Yeah, no.
And also getting their hair done. I'm sorry?
Basically, you're providing another service that allows them to have better time management, better scheduling, flexibility in their scheduling. You're like the Uber Premier for hairstylists. So, you know, they can schedule, they can book it. You arrive when you say you're going to arrive. They're sitting in the back in comfort, relaxed, mind focused on anything but their hair, their look, whereas Uber Premiers, they're driving. And, you know, they come out looking highly rated, fresh, ready to go.
Right. So the luxury of the convenience, I guess, of of the, it's hard to say beauty, but the beauty and it's like the beauty of having convenience. So it's a luxury.
Okay. Okay. We'll dive in deeper, but I think that's a really good start. And in a couple weeks, we're going to do value proposition, and that's where we're going to really break down those terms in terms of the value that you're truly providing to your customers, because that's the thing that they're coming to. Like, yeah, you do this and that's nice, but the value that they're really getting out of it, for some of them, it's time. For some of them, it's stress, right? Like, I don't have to manage, like, packing up my newborn and my two other kids and getting to a babysitter or a hairdresser while I get my hair. I mean, a babysitter or taking them to the hairdresser with me. Like, so it's a couple different things in terms of the value that you're providing by providing that convenience service. And so we'll dive into that. But I think what you have right now is a really good start.
Awesome. Thank you.
And the last one, what will the user do with your product?
Yeah, so what would they do with my product was really hard for me, because I was trying to figure out if the question is what would they do, and as far as, because I guess I'm the product in a sense.
So in your terms, it'll be, what will the user do with your service?
Oh, I see. I guess I answered that, where
Look good, feel good, be good.
yeah, I guess it's about looking good.
If that helps your self-esteem, if it makes you project power, if your hair's done right and you go in that meeting and you're just gonna crush the competition.
I guess confidence.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I interviewed a client of mine, and she was telling me how for her, the main thing is that a lot of salons aren't open at like 5:30. That was one big thing for her, and that I'm always punctual. I'm always on time if she needs me, and that it's really a stress relief for her. Like, she says she just likes the blow dries. For her, it's like getting a massage.
And that's really important. Using the words of the people you interview in terms of the value you're providing to them, that definitely gives you that, that insight. So I think that's really important.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I mean, really, to everyone, to think the terms matter, because this is why copywriting is a profession, and you want to consider terms that not just get them to understand what your service or product is, but what's going to also trigger them to actually purchase from you. So that's why when we do get to talking about that value proposition, why it's going to be extremely valuable for you.
So it's like a therapeutic beauty session.
Yeah, right. Like there's certain things that we all enjoy, and we'll talk about that in like I said, in a couple of weeks, that when we hear certain words like, oh my God, that sounds so good. Yes, give me all of that, right? You want to be able to resonate with them, right? And so you want to, when they hear this, they know you're immediately addressing their pain point. So yeah, that's perfect. Therapeutic, confidence, all those type of words. Those are the catchphrases that are going to be really important with you connecting with your audience.
Empowered. Yeah, empowered, all those.
All righty. Linda.
Hi. My issue is with housing that has been built for hundreds of years along areas that would hold up to that kind of housing without being too crowded, and it would provide a very safe, stable environment for your house. But now land along the oceans and along rivers and water is very expensive. So the people that have been living there a long time, their houses are getting old, and their pressures are for them to just become poorer and poorer because the prices around them keep going up. So that's exacerbated now by hurricanes that are getting stronger and more frequent and doing more damage, and tornadoes coming where they never were reported before, and flooding from higher tides that don't go down, the saltwater intrusion coming up under the ground where houses are already built, and actually a lot of buildings are built in zones.
Can I interject, Linda? Can you condense your condition, the part of your problem of what's true right now, into one short sentence? Like, what is the problem, like in one short sentence, that you're addressing?
The environmental changing with global warming, its effect on
Okay, that's a huge problem, right? Can you condense it into the part of that big problem that you're addressing? Because right now you sound like you're trying to do world peace, and that sounds like a life mission. But in like
hundreds of years old problem.
Yeah, can we, in a short sentence, tell me the part of that problem that you're addressing?
Okay. I have an idea that
don't tell me about the idea. I just want to know about the problem.
The problem, okay. The problem is that houses are being flooded and they're being blown over by hurricanes.
Okay. And what is the vision?
The vision is to provide a foundation to the house that lifts the house up 8 or 10 feet high off the ground, so that the water can come in underneath it and then it can go back out again, and the wind can come over the house, it can go under the house, it can go around the house better than a house that is on the ground.
Okay, great. So with, the changes in our climate, your problem is homes being flooded, and the vision is to combat that by raising the homes up 8 to 10 feet off the ground, and to prevent the flooding. That's a good summary, kind of, sort of. I know I kind of butchered some of the words, but
that's great. And then the main user of the product, I'm not, I guess that would be the person that was going to actually build the house. So it could be like an owner builder, or it could be a builder that builds houses and does that by conversing with the home buyer.
Okay. And what does the user have to gain by using your product or service?
Well, you live in closer harmony with nature. You also get better insurance coverage.
Okay.
And you're also protecting your assets better.
Okay.
No damage is good damage.
Okay. And what will the user do with your product?
It just be there. It's the foundation that their whole house sits on, and it's one structure. But the top part of the house has to be built according to what the end user wants to have. It's not going to be like the house that this plan was built for, but the plan is strong, and it will provide the foundation aspect of a home that will be built up on cement block, reinforced columns.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds good. We're making progress. All right, for everybody who joined us a little later, hopefully you guys got your design thinking kits in the mail. Have them close. We're going to use that in the latter half of the class. Before we get there, we're doing a quick rewind. So what everyone is going through right now is you're stating your problem, and I want that condition and vision. The problem in terms of what's true right now. What is the issue that your target audience is facing right now, and what is it that they want? And then who is that audience? What will they gain by using your product or service? And what will the user do with your product or service? And we're kind of going round robin, and this is not voluntary, you're being voluntold and picked on to kind of share. So I want to hear, because I haven't had the chance to be here with you guys. And so this is kind of my chance, in part because we are wrapping up the design thinking phase of our journey. And so we want to make sure that you guys are good, because after today, things are going to pick up rapid fire. And so all these things is what you're going to be building upon. So we want to make sure we're wrapping it up with you guys having a solid foundation. So with that being said,
Yeah, so make us look good, guys.
with that being said, let's see, I don't know who joined first and who's ready. Elizabeth, are you ready?
I guess I can be.
Yes. Talk to me.
Okay, so state the problem, condition, and vision. The problem that my clients face is a lack of information about how to properly start and navigate their organization. My main user of the product will be, what's the best way to say it? I guess new organizations, or people that are thinking about starting an organization. I haven't quite picked out a specific title for them just yet, but normally it would be someone who is new to nonprofit organizations. What would they gain by using my product? They will gain basic level information that may answer some of those first time questions that they have regarding starting a nonprofit organization. What will they do with my product? Hopefully use it and grow. No, what I really want for them to get from the product is a base level of knowledge to decide, to be able to make that decision as to whether or not, number one, they want to go into the nonprofit space. And if they do, how to get started.
Okay. I would change some of your wording when you say they'll get basic level information. I see that as critical foundational knowledge, right? Like, because like some of that is, that missing information sets people off on a very wrong trajectory and can ruin them if they do it wrong from the beginning. So I wouldn't call that basic. I find that as critical, right? Critical foundational knowledge. I think that's very important.
Dr. Eugene, Elizabeth, can you do the problem over? Because I think I heard the problem that you're addressing, but I've missed the vision part of that statement. And so
might not have said it.
So that you understand what that means is, you're going to talk about what is your problem, but when you are addressing your clients, what are they, what is your goal for them? Like when you,
what do they get away? Like if this condition is solved, like in, a world of unicorns and butterflies, what's the vision?
Yeah. The vision ultimately is that they can operate and navigate the organization as a team. I was going to say on their own, because usually it's like one person that reaches out to you, but as a team, understanding how to really build and scale their organizations. And even then the bridge is a little off, but okay. So I'm just repeating it to myself.
No, that makes sense. So every time you talk about the problem, I want you to talk about the problem in terms of what's true right now and what is it the vision. Like always put that together, because I don't know, for me, it's really hard when someone says this is the problem. Okay, what are we gonna do about it, right? But if you say this is the problem and this is the vision, then my mind is racing. I'm like, okay, like I know exactly how to get there, right? Or I see how your solution is gonna get me there. But the problem without understanding where we're trying to get to kind of leaves people hanging and sends them in the wrong direction sometimes. So you want to be very pointed. This is the problem. This is the truth right now, the issue that we're facing right now, but this is the vision. And my solution is going to help you get to that vision.
Okay.
Awesome. 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 Who's next? Reynard, are you ready?
Sure, I could be.
Talk to me.
The problem. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up. My problem is lack of training and convenience for amateur and collegiate athletes, I say. The vision is to make it affordable in an augmented way The main users will be athletes, particularly football players. What would they have to gain?
Wait, I want to back up. You said the condition was the lack of training and convenience.
The lack of convenience and no, yeah, the lack of convenience and accessibility.
Of what?
Quality sports training.
Okay, I just didn't hear you. So the lack of convenience and accessibility of quality sports training. And the vision is to, like, if all of that was addressed, if there wasn't a lack of training and accessibility, what would this world of unicorns look like for these athletes?
If there wasn't, you say?
Yeah, if there was no problem with a lack of training and accessibility, what does the world look like for these athletes if this problem didn't exist?
What's your solution?
No, what does your solution afford them?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That wording threw me off. My solution is to offer it in an augmented way. Where you can be a self-starter and you can.
I think you faded off, Reynard. I'm not sure. Was that just me or can y'all hear him?
No, I couldn't hear him.
Okay. Did we lose you, Reynard? Okay. I think Reynard will have to. Oh, there you go.
You hear?
There you go.
You're going in and out.
I think that's you.
Oh, okay. It could be. Where we at? Sorry, doctor.
I was trying to make sure I understood you, but your last sentence kind of faded out a little bit, so I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said to offer it in an augmented way.
Okay.
And where we at now? What else you need?
So if your solution solves the problem, then the athletes that currently have a lack of training and accessibility, now that they have accessibility and training, what does this afford them? What does this enable them to do?
Well, it's a few points, I think, right? For one, it's
give me an example. Give me like one or two.
Okay. For one, you get better at honing your skills, and for two, trying to cut down on it'll make the game safer.
Okay, so that's the vision, right? So the condition is they have a lack of training and accessibility. But the vision is that they can hone in on these skills and make the game safer. That is your vision.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying? The solution you provide is what makes this vision come true. Like if they adopt your solution, this is the vision it affords it. This is the vision it provides them. Do you see what I'm saying?
I got you.
Okay. All right. And so you said the main user is the athletes. What will they have to gain by using your product or service?
For one, longevity. You cut down on injuries.
Okay, that's good.
For two, I think you'll be overall better at honing on specific skills.
Okay, so more quality athletes is what you're saying?
I think so. Affords you the opportunity to maximize your skills and your potential.
Okay.
You want the whole sauce, huh?
No, I'm just trying to get you to zone in. Like, I want y'all to be able to fire off these responses. This is what's going to build your elevator pitch. So these are if you get all this stuff concise, then someone walks away knowing exactly what you about, and then they know how to connect with you, right?
Well, yeah, in a bigger vision, I'm trying to, and also within that, trying to kind of speed up the pace of the game, where it becomes like more. Oh, I can't even think of the word right now. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think we have what we need for here. Like we have a solid understanding of your condition, your vision, your main users, and what they have to gain. And I think, it might be kind of clear, but you can go ahead and state what will the user do with your product or service? Like, what are they actually doing with it? But I think we're good on what you have. Like, we have a solid understanding with that so far.
Yeah, I'll email you because I got it all on paper.
That's fine. I don't need it on paper. You need to be able to throw this at me.
All right.
All right. So I think, did we cover everybody?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. All right. So I know that was a little painstaking, but because of the journey that we have been on, all of those answering those 4 questions, that is the stuff you build and empathize, define, ideate. This is what you build your prototype. This is what you build your business on, right? So when you go to build your business and you start thinking about, well, what's my marketing strategy? Well, it depends. Who's your customer? What's their problem? What do they need? When you start to think, how do I make money? Well, it depends. Who's your customer? What's their problem? What do they need? How are they going to interact? What are the costs that it's going to cost me? Well, it depends. Everything comes back to this foundation, right? From this point on, if you can't answer those questions, and in fact, your ability to move on to the next steps is really going to depend on your ability to answer those questions. And this is what's going to build, poke holes into what you have. If you can't figure out some of the strategies to build the business around this, because this whole time we've been talking about the problem, the solution, the product space. When we go to talk about the business, if you get stuck, you go back to these questions, right? And that's why this whole design thinking has these backwards loops. Go back to the questions, right? Do I really need to rethink my empathize? Do I need to rethink my ideate? If these things aren't solid, it's so much harder to build upon it because you're building upon a really shaky foundation, right? But if your design thinking piece was solid, it's so much easier because I don't have to guess marketing, right? Marketing to a 2-year-old is very different than marketing to a 70-year-old. I kind of have a sense of what they want and what they need because I've spent so much time getting to know my customer and their problem space, then I know what are things that appeal to them, right? When it comes to revenue, well, and cost, I can start to think of opportunities to make money because I know my customer and I know the kind of things they spend money on because I know their problems and needs and I know how to address them, right? And so when it comes to really building that business model, ideate, define, empathize, right? You're working backwards, right? And then in reverse, and you're kind of always going back and forth like, maybe I got that wrong. Let me go back and rethink my customer. Or I might need to narrow the scope of my customer base, right? Like Paul, you talked about middle school and high school. You might discover that might be broad because middle school and high school kids start to think about the world very differently, right? Middle school might have a very much narrow scope in terms of what they need. And high school, they know is wide open, right? And they're seeing things very different. So you might be like, my first product might focus on one audience and then I add in the other audience, right? Same thing, Elizabeth, when you think about your folks in the nonprofit sector, you want to kind of start to really think about, is there sub segments within that audience, right? Are there people in there who this might not be their first round of nonprofits? So do you need to separate them, or maybe certain types of nonprofits? So you might want to start thinking about, are there sub segments? And as you start to dig in deeper, do you need to partition? Same thing for you, Diana. You might want to address stay-at-home moms different from working professionals, and everything from your marketing to your revenue stream might be a little bit different when you start to dissect those audience, or it might not. But it's really important that you start to pay attention to those nuances, because as you evolve your business, these are the things that empower you to stay one step ahead of your customers' needs, because as you're growing with them, you're seeing the things that they're addressing before they even acknowledge it. Think Apple, right? Apple comes out, what is it? Apple's built their whole business on selling us stuff we didn't even realize we needed or wanted, right? And so you got to kind of think about that with your business, knowing your customer's problem and need before they realize it. Sorry, I'm rambling. Let's keep it pushing. All right, so why prototype? So when we think about prototyping, we've actually been diving into prototyping last week. And so prototyping is prototyping is slowing down to speed us up. By taking the time to prototype our ideas, we avoid costly mistakes such as becoming too complex too quickly, too early, and sticking with a weak idea for too long, right? And so the great thing about prototyping is getting the idea out of your head, because many of you, whatever your business idea is, it's something that you've been dreaming, you've been thinking about for quite some time, and you've added layers and you're seeing the future of it, but you can't start where your ideas have taken you to. You got to figure out, what does that starting point looks like? What are those necessary pieces right now, right? Getting it out of your head and seeing it on paper, and you realize, oh, this is fire, or that looked really differently in my head, right? This is what prototyping is. It's really getting that stuff on paper so you really see how everything come together. Think jigsaw puzzle, right? All the pieces are there, but how do they come together? There are two different types of prototype. There is low fidelity prototyping, so which is what we've kind of been exploring. Our storyboards are considered low fidelity prototyping, and high fidelity and sketching is also a form of low fidelity prototyping. Card sorting, Wizard of Oz. How many of you guys heard of Wizard of Oz? Hello. Anybody tell me what's a Wizard of Oz? Or what is your understanding of that?
No, I've not heard of it before.
Okay. Paul, you had raised your hand.
Yeah, at first I thought you were talking about the movie, but if I'm assume,
well, give me an example. What was the role of him in the movie? Because the concept is really based off of the character from the movie. So what was his role in the movie?
Oh, awesome. So,
figured out people's strength.
But what was unique about him? Not just his role, but what was unique about him? Like when you pull the curtain, what did you realize?
He was something less than what you thought he was. Like it wasn't as intimidating.
Ah, yes. Very true. So when you pull back the curtain, Wizard of Oz was like a puppet show, right? Mm-hmm. He sounded like this big and amazing character, but he really wasn't what he projected to be. So when we're talking about prototyping, Wizard of Oz is a way where you make your product or service look like it's operating on a level it's not yet. And that's mainly for the purpose of testing, right? And so it's kind of like sometimes they have these old commercials where like it's a business and the business looks like it's 20 people behind the scenes, but it's one guy like, hey, thank you for calling. Oh, hold on. Let me put you in contact with her. Hi, yes, right? And it's like that person is like all of the 20 people in the office, right? And they're kind of playing all the different roles, right? Same thing. You could build a system that looks like it's an automated system, but you're just manually doing things on the back end. And it's like, this will take, an hour. We'll send you your update, right? And it's not that it's manually, it's happening. You're back there looking stuff up and you're sending it to the people, right? Wizard of Oz is a way to test out your system early on before you take the time, the money, and effort to fully build it out. You're doing what's called a Wizard of Oz, where you can kind of test it low fidelity before you invest, and you be like, this isn't working the way I want to. And you can constantly tweak it manually. And then once you get the right kind of interactions, then you can kind of build it. And so I bring that up because it's something that it's a system that we use and interact with frequently, and when we don't realize it. And it's just kind of a shortcut. But all that to say, we have interacted with low fidelity prototyping for quite some time. Diane, you asked, did we do prototyping last week? Was that a question or more of a statement?
Sorry, it was a question because last week I came in late and I thought I heard this already. I went back and listened to the recording from last week, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
You did. There's levels of prototyping. So if you guys did your storyboards and scenarios, and I'm going over that to kind of touch bases with it, but you did do that. And we're going to go to a little deeper of prototyping today. And that's why I was saying, keep your design thinking kit. But I brought this up for just to kind of go over, but your low fidelity prototypes can be models and cheaply and easily made. And in some sense, what we're going to do today is also considered a low fidelity prototype. But before the program is over, you guys are going to build a high fidelity prototype and then an MVP with Shona. And so all of these things are built up. So a lot of what I'm doing today is making sure that we're driving it home, because what I'm going to have you do in the second half is really kind of putting this stuff in practice. You're good? Okay, awesome. All right. So let's see, why is this not advancing? There we go. Did you guys already talk about the guidelines for prototyping? I'll go over it anyway. All right. Guidelines for prototyping. It's important to remember that prototypes are supposed to be quick, easy, and test of design solutions. A few guidelines, right? Just start building, right? Don't overthink it. When it comes to prototyping, you just get in there and you just start putting stuff together. All right. Design thinking has a bias towards action. So this isn't a let me think about the perfect way to do it. This is, I want you to turn into that 5-year-old kid in art class and you just gonna start putting something on paper, right? It's really about getting things out of your head. And the sooner the better, right? Because we're going to talk about fail fast later, but right now it's really about not spending too much time, but prototyping is all about the speed. Just dump it out your head, get it on paper, right? When you think about creating a prototype, will help you to think about your ideas in a concrete manner and potentially allow you to gain insight into ways you can improve your ideas. So you want to, the longer you spend building your prototype, the more emotionally attached you can get to the idea. And then it hampers your ability to objectively judge its merits. So if you spend too much, like, if you go from stick figures to giving it a real face, and then you've really poured your artistic skills into this, then you come too attached to it, and it makes it that much harder to move forward, right? And so keep it ugly, keep it simple, keep it moving, right? It's really the way you want to kind of think about how you're doing your prototypes. Remember that you're testing for all your prototypes in terms of central testing that issue, the critical issues of your solutions. So don't lose sight of that issue, right? But at the same time, don't get so bound to it that you lose sight of the other lessons that you can learn along the way. Build with the user in mind. So test the prototype against the expected user behavior and user needs, and then learn from the gaps and expectations and realities and improve your ideas. So really think about your user and the state of mind of your user, right? Like Diane, you're thinking about like busy moms, right? Or busy women. You don't want an intricate platform where they have to like read a whole bunch of instructions to like book an appointment or do all this. They busy, right? They need to be able to get to you quick, fast, in a hurry, right? Those are the things that you're thinking about when it comes to your design of your prototype. What is the state of mind of that user as they come to you, right? But at the same time, you don't want to get so knee deep in that you forget, well, what are some other things that I'm missing about my user that I can kind of pay attention to in this design? So with your storyboards, they're based on that we talked about. You guys, you went from scenario to storyboard. So this all should be review storyboards based on scenario, steps of the scenario. Each step in your scenario is representing visually of your sequences. You all did amazing on your storyboards. I hopped in on the last bit of the class last week to see some of it. I didn't see all of them, but I'm going to assume that you completed them. And again, that storyboard should be that standalone visual representation of your personified user walking through the scenario of their problem that brings them to their solution, experiencing the vision that you've casted. This is more of the same. Okay. And so I'm not sure if you guys covered this week, so this is just kind of another example, because a storyboard is really important to your prototype, because you're building your prototype off of one of your scenarios or storyboards interacting of your user. So you're thinking about a user completing a task or a process in terms of using your product or service, right? And so in your prototype, you're taking us through that user journey from beginning to end, where it's encompassing all of the ways that they're going to be able to step through your system and complete that task. We're good on scenarios and storyboards, yes? Okay. And we did that. Okay, so let me take you through a video that will help understand and drive home the point that I'm trying to make. If I can get to, there we go. Come on, YouTube, play nice. Sorry, y'all, I am not a PC user.
Are a fast and cheap way
Wait,
to
no,
test ideas for
stop it.
products and
There we go. When you're not using your main system. There we go. Okay, I'm ready now.
paper prototypes are a fast and cheap way to test ideas for products and services. As such, they are an integral part of the design thinking methodology. By showing paper prototypes and user interviews, you can get a better understanding of user needs and also use it as a basis to experiment on, during and after the interview. To start off, let's talk about commonly used materials. These include a pair of scissors, tape, glue stick, marker, post-its, and paper and cardboard in various colors. Let's say you want to test your newest business idea, a dog food delivery service. If, for example, you want to visualize an app or a website, you can start by drawing a simple interface. It doesn't matter if it looks crude. I actually recommend it because that way users are encouraged to talk honestly about the concept itself. In contrast, a highly polished prototype draws the attention to details like button placement and color choice. People also tend to hold back their honest opinion because they do not want to devalue your fancy prototype you've obviously put so much work into. The same goes for physical objects like wearables. This technique is called wireframing and allows users to get a feel of your idea. Having a physical representation of the device helps to understand the implications of wearing it. Would I take it to work or wear it when doing sports? Services, on the other hand, are a different story since they are intangible. So try to pick out a part of the service experience you want to focus on. Let's say you want to host a convention for dog owners. One prototype could be a written invitation, another a program overview. Use these as a starting point in interviews. Here, I am building a dog food shipping package. I can use it not only to test its content or size, but also the unpacking experience and whether the instructions are clear enough. To sum it up, while paper prototypes lack the functionality and detail of a traditional prototype, they are great for evaluating early concepts from a user perspective. They can be created and adapted very quickly, and in case users don't like them, simply discard them. That was my short overview of paper prototypes. If you have any questions.
All right. Are you getting to kind of the gist of what we're talking about here in terms of our paper prototypes? They don't have to be fancy. They don't have to be pretty. And actually, as he mentioned before, the nicer they look, the harder is it to get feedback from people because they feel bad giving you feedback because they see the time you've invested. So when they're basic and simple, then they're like, well, since it's only stick figures, I'll tell you right now, I would never pay $1 for it, right? And you want that kind of, you want to garner that feedback. I forgot to mention when it comes to prototyping, there's two, and this is the part of low fidelity and high fidelity. Low fidelity is where you're learning to test the functionality of your product or service, right? Do people actually interact with your solution that way? Do they seek it out that way? Do they even want to interact with it that way? High fidelity is really more of the look and feel. Like now that I know you actually want this solution, you want it delivered this way, you want to interact with it, how do you, like, do you want it, how do you want it to look, right? How do you like the buttons? Do you like it this side or this side? When you click on this, or what are you expecting to see next? Do you like the colors? Do you like, right? And so you want to be able to separate those two, right? You want to be able that you test out the user's understanding and use of functionality before you get into the look and feel of things. Let's look at one more video or two more. The pop-up keyboard is my favorite. Alrighty. So that was an example of like a mobile app, right? And so you see the details in there, right? In terms of that user interaction, right? How, if they're filling out a profile or signing up for your services, how do they sign up, right? Okay, I found you, but how do I actually engage? How do I actually buy something on your page? Right? How many different things am I going to get to touch points to get there? All those things are kind of the things that we want to see in this paper prototype. Questions on that so far?
I have a question.
Sure.
With my business being a service-based business and not getting anything tangible, would it be better for me to talk about that space where they are actually doing something such as, say, booking an appointment? Because really that's it. Outside of that, I don't know. Like I was trying to think of like what part of it is it that they would get from it.
Well, let's think about all the different touch points that you provide to your customers, even manually, that you could provide digitally. I'm sure you're providing a lot of educational information, right? That foundational knowledge. And there are certain things that they probably need to interact with you, but I'm sure there are certain things that come up that almost all of them are either missing, or you find like, this is the one thing that I wish all of them knew before they even interacted. Or maybe your customer onboarding process, right? Like, hey, before I sit here and have 101 conversations, is there a way I can shortcut this and have some of that onboarding done digitally, right? So like not just setting an appointment, but creating a profile about them, about their business, uploading key documents about their business so that you can review it. So by the time you're ready to have that appointment, a lot of that stuff is condensed because it's been kind of figured out digitally. So if you were to like kind of think about like that process, how do you like circumvent that? And you think about a user, okay, from the time they hear about your business and they come to your website, from the time that they see your website, how do you kind of get them through that user flow, right? To kind of get to the point of setting up that appointment, receiving the information, or interacting with you virtually, right? They can interact with you via Zoom, right? And you already have their information in your portal so that you can have that kind of engagement. So if you think about all the things that you do manually, is there anything that you can create either digital outlets of it, or even your manual processes? Is there a way that you can improve upon them? Does that help?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions? All right, we're gonna do one more short. Actually, that's not the one I want to do.
In the last episode, we were looking into the ideation phase of developing that I loved, but I also didn't love so much. I found it difficult to just think up how I wanted to change it. So I called up Till and asked for advice. He gave me a very simple advice, but a good one. He said, grab a pen and draw. And if you feel ambitious, he said, make a full-on paper prototype, which we're going to do now. Pens, papers, something sharp, cutting board. I'm going to use this thick paper to create the illusion of a phone. A ruler could also be good to have. So now we're going to make the screens. So now I've basically drawn out the first page screen, what it looks like when you visit the app. Now we press beginner, and you have already purchased the tutorials. You end up on another page where I want it to be different than it is today. Tricks. Now when you click there and you're inside jumping and you want to learn how to jump, then you end up to the sideways swiping screen. This is a GIF. Oh yeah, I want it offline. I think this is a really good exercise because like I understand when I click there, you end up on this screen. And then what happens next, really how the app flows and how the customers can interact with it. Wow, it looks like a 15-year-old boy has painted this. Despite that, I'm pretty happy with what I've done here. I feel like I understand.
All right, I know that's very much like the last one, but you kind of see the process come into play. But I wanted you guys to see how rudiment these all are. Like I'm not just pulling out, bad examples. A lot of these are really, really basic, right? So websites, apps, any kind of digital representation of an aspect of your business, right? I want you guys to kind of think about one user flow process, right? So beginning to end, either them purchasing a product, booking a service, or just filling out their user profile information, getting their information into your system. What information are you collecting, right? If they're making a purchase, right, from the beginning to the end, from the time that they load your site to the time that they complete the purchase, what are all the steps look like, right? In any kind of transaction or e-commerce, right? What are all the steps from beginning to end that that user has to interface with? All those things are kind of the things I want you guys to think about, right? As you go through your prototype. And so your prototyping kits that you have, this is the time that we're going to use them. So go ahead and break them out. You guys should have all the fun, cool toys in there. And I want you to break out your inner child creative skills and think really through one flow process. And I want you to kind of think through what will that look like, because your homework assignment with these is going to be to record someone using your paper prototype. And so just like these recordings that you're seeing where, you know, you're kind of that Wizard of Oz on the back end, switching out different pieces, and someone else is kind of the user where they're kind of clicking and going through. That is the same thing we want you guys to do. It could be a family member, it could be your kid. We just want to see someone going through the process of using your prototype. So we're going to start that off today. I'm going to give you guys about 15 minutes to get going. We're going to pause to see how you're going with it. If somebody's ready for show and tell, great. If not, we're going to continue pushing. And then that should give us a little bit of time to show and tell at the end. And so questions so far before I release you. And we won't do breakout. We'll stay here in case someone has questions or some, you know, random idea that pops in your head. But what are your thoughts so far before we jump into our design phase? Questions? Thoughts? Cries of outrage.
I have a question. So with thinking about some of the things you were already saying about my audience and being on different levels, would something like building out a questionnaire be helpful, or would it be different or does it need to be an interface like how the mobile app is? Because I feel like
I think a questionnaire is quite useful, right? Think about all the, you know, do you want the questionnaire to be anonymous? Do you want to collect information from that user before they fill out that questionnaire? What kind of questions do you want? Drop boxes? Do you want them to fill out paragraphs? All of those pieces, that whole flow from beginning to end, I think that'll be a really good exercise on that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And to help you guys kind of think through the process of what you're doing, every business has a workflow. So regardless of whether you have a product or a service, you want to think of what that customer journey will be like. So as you're working towards your prototype, you want to think, okay, when that first point of contact, when they contact me for the service, to consider me to provide them for whatever that service, what is that going to look like? So for you guys in your website, what is that going to look like when they contact you? What are the first things they're going to do? What information they're going to look up? Things like that. So just kind of think of the workflow and then put it basically in pictures.
Yeah. And your users might have multiple workflow. Pick one that's the most meaningful, like them just filling out, you know, their profile information doesn't kind of, you could do that right? Like, what is like a critical task that is unique to your business and their interactions with you that you want to test out, right? Like, you know, Elizabeth, kind of with your questionnaires, do your users even want to do a questionnaire? Do they want to do a questionnaire with a lot of questions or little questions, right? Like, you know, you want to kind of test out, right? The prototype this way allows you to test out a feature, right, of your products and services to know how your users, like, people say one thing, but if you watch them interact and you'd be like, I'm not sure if they're feeling it, or at least they're not feeling it the way I was hoping, right? So this gives you a way to really test that workflow.
Okay, I was thinking about, like, with the questionnaire, number one, yes, definitely to capture data from the client, but I was thinking more so like the questionnaire is kind of like an assessment, so they can kind of know what service would be best for them that I offer. That way they're not choosing something that doesn't fit them, but they've already kind of got that quick glance at, you know, hey,
great.
right, either I'm doing better than I think I am because I have, you know, the checklist that they said I have 8 out of 10 of those documents, you know. And I'm thinking about it just being a way that they can kind of self-assess while I'm gathering information and kind of giving them some direction.
Yep. No, I think that's perfect, because what I found is people don't know what they need and they don't know what they don't know, right? And so by positioning it that way, like you said, you can assess on the back end by how they're responding, and they get some insight as well. Like, oh, I'm actually not as bad off as I thought I was. So I think that's a double win. So I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions?
So we're just creating a prototype, right?
You're creating the paper prototype, right? So
Okay.
not the storyboards where it's just the, you know, pictures, but these need to be something a user can interact with, and they can step through a user workflow of some aspect of your business idea or your product, shall I say.
So something less than tangible.
Pardon?
I said, so something less than tangible?
It should be some tangible aspect of it, right? So when you think about like your athletes, right? There's a couple different things in terms of the workflow that you want to think about, right? Because if the athletes, and I'm not fully convinced it's just the athletes, right? Trainers might be the ones who might be using your systems too. But if you think about the athlete kind of coming up to your system, before they even start the training piece of it, you got to know something about them, right? You gotta collect something. What is that something that you're collecting, and how much of that do you need to collect, right? Before they can begin that engagement piece of that, right? And then like while they're engaging, what kind of data you're collecting on the back end, right? And so you want to kind of think about it from that piece of it. That's one very tangible piece that you can kind of work through.
Okay.
Yeah, especially for you, Reynard, you got to consider too, like, it's important for you to have disclaimers. Of course, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not an attorney, but you know, you have people who are going to be doing physical activity based off of what they're being led to do off of your program. So you're gonna have a screen come up before they even get into training that they understand, you know, take breaks if you need to. Don't push yourself. If you get hurt, we're not held responsible, stuff like that. So kind of think of that process when they start working with your product. They set their profile, you know, you get information about what their weight class, maybe get some information about their goals. I'm not doing it for you, but trying to help you, kind of point you in the direction so you can kind of map out what that service it'll be like when they connect with your application. And then again, you know, including those various statements to protect your company. And like Dr. Eugene said, that's all before they even start interacting with the training.
Yeah. And also think about it, like when you think about the augmented VR space, there's certain data points you need to feed the system so that they are accurately measuring where your user is, right? And so like in some systems, and this is all depending upon how you build your systems, will you have markers in the room, right? And so do you need to have that user set the parameters so that when they interact, the parameters in the system are accurate to the space that they're using, right? Or like, you know what I'm saying? So whatever you, and that's why I said, you got a lot of options in user workflows to work through. Pick one and step through that whole process and demonstrate it with your paper prototype.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some after hours.
Well, start your best here. Let's see what you come up with in the time that we have, and you can continue to work through that and submit that for or someone stepping through it as your assignment. But I want to see what you come up with what time we got.
Okay. Thank you all.
Of course.
You're welcome.
All right, quick check-in. We making good progress? Everybody coming along okay? Anybody stuck? Need help? Need input, insight? Thumbs up if you're good, if you're doing good. All right. Elizabeth, Diane, y'all are good? All right, great. Linda, you're doing all right over there as well? Okay, awesome. All righty. Who's about ready to show us what you got so far? Anybody ready for a little show and tell? You ain't got to be done. Just want to see where your brain is taking you. All right, Linda. Oh, neat. Talk us through. Oh, you're muted, Linda. Unmute so we can hear what you're saying.
Yeah, mute Linda.
It looks pretty cool. I'm really excited to hear what you came up with. All righty. What are we looking at?
the front is the plan of where to put the columns.
Mm-hmm.
And then behind it, there is a representation of a column made of cement block, reinforced square column. And then over on the side, you have what the product. This is just a simple representation of what the columns will look like when they're built underneath a house.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. This is a great start. So where do you plan on taking this from here? Like, what is the workflow that you're working through?
Well, I was thinking that the first thing that the plans will show is basically just locations and outline of what a column will look like. There's also the house depiction from which wind load calculations are taken from, but that's a different, that's not going to be in the foundation plans.
Okay. Okay.
That's kind of there if somebody wants to use the plan and take it the next step to an architect and say, I want to use this foundation, but I would like to have a house of my choosing to be put on top of it.
Okay. So if someone comes with their plans to an architect, like, here's what I want to use, but I want this foundation to put my house on top of it. Okay. I got it. I got you. I got you. That's a good start. Really good start. All righty. Who's next? I'm ready for some more show and tell.
All right, I can go. So I was thinking of a user interface in the sense of like a website or an app where it starts off, you know, what my logo will be. And then like the direction of like where a user can go ahead and click either, or they can scroll down to the different options, which is for like, I need help, I want to practice, I want to learn, study tips, examples, or I want to teach. So each category of various ones are being directed. So for the one I need help, set you up for a questionnaire. And during the questionnaire, it brings down like what a student necessarily needs to go through. In addition to on the back, I was playing around to just see like what users this generation like to do. So like for their profile setup, student could select like an emoji that would be able to be like their header. Of course, whatever name they like to put in or themselves. I was contemplating in a sense of like how many users I may have of having either a following or a followers aspect. And then it'll show like grade level, city, and subject for the student would be, you know, what direction of math they're utilizing.
Is your platform going to be a mobile app or a website?
It's website, but I do want to transition as well to having an app. Okay. As I'm thinking of just where I know big scale where I want to be. And a part of me has been contemplating the sense of also I want to like branch out different ideas where I can start test trialing. And as I was doing this, I actually started to write down like, you know what, let me actually put this, like going back to our previous slide where we're just like having various different questions where I can put this as a survey to gauge my students, where it allowed me to like start thinking back in that aspect where I know a lot of kids are immature. So it's like at that point, like I want to make sure my context and the language I'm speaking is something that they can relate to. Yep. So then it's like, okay, I'm making the math like a lot more engaging, fun, where I'm utilizing the language that the students use, where it's helping also explain what concepts they might be having misconceptions with.
Okay. So if it's a website, so what you were showing me was that the back end, and then they're gonna like, is it gonna be a drop down menu? Like pull up that first paper you were showing me. I was just trying to see how that's gonna be. So when they come in and they click on where to, it's going to be a drop down menu of these options, or these options are already going to be displayed and
it's there. Yeah, it's going to be together. Yes, for both.
So no, wait, like, which one? It's either going to be a drop down menu, or they're going to already be displayed.
Drop down to then go into the selection where they want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then when they click, I want to practice, then what happens?
That's when it'll like show up. Like I'll have to write out like what they want to practice on. So like everything I have to go through like a questionnaire to say, okay, what specific standard or topic I'm looking to focus on.
I
So
see.
then it's like, those different questions. It's not like I didn't get all that right now.
Yeah. No, I know you're still at the beginning. I'm just trying to capture the vision of where you're going with it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think of, okay, when I see this or when they see this, what are they clicking on? And then what is popping up or what's already there, just to kind of get a gauge of what you got going on.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, sounds good. All right. Who is next? Diana, looks like you are ready. I'm excited. Show me what you got.
Am I unmuted?
Yep, you are now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I created was I was thinking whether I wanted to do website or app, but I think an app would be like easier. So here we go. I have a cell phone I created.
Love it.
Hopefully you can see because I wrote in pencil. So
that's fine. I can see. We can see it.
I hope it's not blurred.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so basically, it says blow dry gal at the very top, and welcome to your personal beauty concierge. And at the very bottom, it says book now. So I kind of wanted it to make it like pretty simple, not too much going on the screen, but like to the point. So they will click book now, and of course it will go to the next, which is their first name, because I need the information, their first name, their last name. There's a little calendar.
Okay.
And then at the bottom of each, I guess, screen, there'll be like a little quote or something. At the bottom of this one, it says your personal hair styling at your convenience.
Okay.
So they will click on whatever date works for them, and it will take them to the next page, which is the services. So blow dry, extensions with the blow dry, a touch-up service, the location, and the time that they're looking for.
Okay, awesome.
And then last but not least, once they're finished with that, it would be the confirmation. So it would kind of go over everything that just to make sure they have all the right information. It will repeat their name, the date, the time. And then at the very bottom, it says, I can't wait to blow you away.
I love it. Yay. That's awesome.
I'm still working on it, but
Oh, that's a great start.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can definitely follow the workflow on that one. That's great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Elizabeth, are you ready?
Sure. Let me turn my camera back on. Okay. So mine is still in pencil, but it starts off, and you probably can't see because I write really light, but it starts off with, yeah, it looks like a blank piece of paper. So I'll explain it. It starts off with just my website.
Hold it up. Sometimes if you move it just right, it'll capture it. Oh, it's the blur. Oh, wait, it was coming through for a second. It's the setting of the filter that's blurring it out.
Oh, that's right. I have it on the blur. I apologize. So that makes
No,
sense.
you're good.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, so this is just the interface of like my website. And what I've highlighted in red is kind of like me walking them through the process of where I want them to be.
Okay.
I already have a nonprofit consulting business. So the product that I'm working through now is the Focus Your Nonprofit series, which is a subcategory of my business. So this is like the interface of my website with my logo. They can book a consultation, etc. But I want to focus here where it says Focus Your Nonprofit series, or at least it has the acronym for it. So that when they click on that, it takes them to the second page, which gives them a little synopsis of what Focus Your Nonprofit series is for. And then it says, okay, let's start your journey. So they click there and we scroll down to the second half. Of course, this will be a separate screen, but This is where we're going to collect their personal information, their first, last name, their email address, their phone numbers. And then the main question is, do you have a nonprofit organization? So if they click yes, you know how they have the little I in the little circle that gives more information.
Yeah.
So if you're saying yes, that means that you have articles, the EIN, and a letter of determination. And if you're saying no, you're one of the two options where it's like, I only have, what does it say? I only have my articles, which I get a lot of people who have that and think that they're ready, but or I have no paperwork at all. So those are like the little drop down where they can kind of get the little bit of extra information to kind of figure out what category they may really fit
before
into.
they make their selection.
Right, before they make their selection. So they make the selection. So I started with the selection of yes first. And that brings us to the third page, which is where they say, yes, we're asking their organization name, asking for the EIN number. It allows me to be able to look them up to verify everything they're about to check. And so then they have their little checklist that kind of goes through a list of documents and or things they can have that would, to me, signify that they are at a certain point in their organization. So your articles, your letter of determination, any local state paperwork for tax exemption, charitable solicitation information, if they have a board of directors, if they have bylaws, conflict of interest policies, a business and or strategic plan. And then finally, I asked them what state the organization is listed in. Now, granted, I guess I can find that information, but I put it at the bottom because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to add it or not. So this list kind of helps me assess where they are, even though they're saying, yes, I'm a nonprofit organization. This helps me assess where they are in that process so that I know where they're going. And if this is filled out and they get most of it, then I started on the back. For option yes, it starts off where it says, congratulations, you're eligible for, and then it tells them what type of service they're eligible for. It says use the link to book a consultation, and then please upload a copy of any documents from the checklist so that by the time I'm getting the booking, I'm also getting the organization name, the EIN number, and their paperwork for me to really be able to assess. So once we get on that consultation, we're going right in. Okay, I've assessed your documents. This is where you are. These are your next steps. Let's book it and go. So that's if they go the yes route. I didn't get to the no route yet, but essentially the no route is going to kind of go back to starting them from the beginning, where we're going to be talking about, and I'm probably going to pull in some of those open-ended questions that we did earlier in the empathize phase to kind of see where they are, so they can kind of assess or where they think they are. So that'll be more of a input some information, more so than a checklist or just a yes or no. And then based on that, I'll be able to know what category that I need to put them in. Now, the only thing I don't know is if they do that, how do I direct them to the right service? Does that make sense?
Yes, we can definitely get you there. This is beautiful. This is a lot out of your head and on paper. So this is great. Good job. Good job. Reynard, are you ready?
I didn't really draw up anything tangible. I wrote kind of.
Did you miss the whole purpose of what we've been talking about?
No, I kind of went off what you and RJ was saying.
Right, and you were supposed to be creating a paper prototype of what we were talking about.
Yeah, I wrote it down, but I'm just saying I didn't.
No. Writing it down and creating a paper prototype are not the same task.
Oh no, I didn't create a prototype. I was still thinking these steps through.
Okay, well, that is part of your homework assignment. You will finish your paper prototype and you will record someone using your paper prototype. Let me put my screen back up. Completing your prototype so that they will be stepping through your prototype so you can see how usable it is based off of what you have been describing. So does it have the same functionality or do you need to, does it follow the workflow that the user expects? Does it have the functionality that the user expecting? All those things. So you want to basically create the paper prototype. I'm not saying write it down, create a functional representation of just like all the things that we've been talking about tonight, where a person can, you draw out what is the first screen that they see, what is it they're stepping through, what are they interacting with, what are they doing, what is the task that they're completing, and the route, the workflow of how they will complete that task. That is your assignment. Understand?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I know what you was doing, but don't get locked in on that process. I want you to join us. This exercise, though random it might seem, it has a purpose. So you got to trust the process. Work with me on this one.
I got you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And also be on the lookout for my email. I'm going to make sure that these links that she shared tonight is also in it so that you'll be able to refer back to them when you're working on your own.
All right. And if you guys have any trouble, as always, you can reach out to RJ or anyone else on the team to kind of help get you there. On Wednesday, we're going to transition from design thinking to really start building the business around our solution. Next week, we're going to start our speaker series. And so we're going to bring in the speakers to talk about all the different subjects. So you really want to be here because, like I said, things are going to start moving really quickly. For those of you who are ready, we're going to start engaging you with Shona in terms of the developer so she can start getting the pieces together to kind of help you build out. Some of our speakers are going to make themselves available. Our attorney normally always has time. And we pay for some of their time to have one-on-ones with you guys. Sean will be in and he will have some one-on-one times with you guys to really start thinking about what those revenue, the cash flow for your businesses that look like. So you guys are going to have to make time outside of just your time with us to make sure you're developing out these pieces. The mentoring team that is going to be part of the judging team for pitch night, they're going to start becoming on board and helping you guys get ready for pitch night. So the next couple of weeks are going to move really fast. And so, like I said, it was really just kind of helping you guys get the framework right of what we're building, and we're building on top of this, and we're going to move it. We're going to get all the right pieces in place. And at some point in time, it's going to feel like you're drinking out of a fire hydrant. That's okay. Some of these pieces you can't execute right now, depending upon the stage you are in development, but you want to know what they are. So when you get there, you know how to pull that out of your notes, pull that out of wherever you've dug it down to, so you can execute it. But anybody have any questions? You guys did awesome. I'm super excited about your prototypes, and it makes me really excited to see your business come to life. We're so excited to be on this journey with y'all, and y'all have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Congratulations.
Good night, everyone.
All right.